should put something on. Usually you're the one who's like dressed up, three-piece
Yeah.
a tie. So I needed to just like look presentable as well.
I think you just didn't want to match me because we were both in a white shirt.
I
Not
was
lying.
too. I was thinking, man, we need like some divide right here.
Uh-huh. Well, guys, Justin just became a pilot, so yeah, that's a nice jacket though. All right, guys, so welcome back. It's me, it's him. We're about to get back at it again. So me and Justin, we started a new series on my YouTube channel, Uplift Past Crossroads. If you're not subscribed, you need to totally subscribe. The new playlist on my YouTube channel is Forgive Them, right? We're gonna be talking about how do you overcome bitterness and resentment and hatred towards people and holding on to grudges, just all those things. So yeah, just make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Uplift Past Crossroads, for more. Like I said, we've been doing a few videos. So we just went live before this video. And what was the video on? It was on the sweet fragrance of forgiveness. And I was breaking down this visual you see right here on the video before that, Fly with Forgiveness. But anyways, it's going to be on that playlist. We got a lot for you guys today. So somebody asked me a question on social media when I tweeted things on forgiveness. And she asked me this question. So the title of today's video is, how do we truly forgive? Like, how do we truly forgive? And so this person asked me, how do you know you've truly forgiven somebody? Because like I was saying, I was going on a tangent on my social media pages, just posting things about forgiveness. So I'll share some of the things I was posting just so everybody get like way more than what you need just to get us started and get us ramped up on this video. So like I said, we were breaking down this visual, right? So here goes some of the things I was tweeting on forgiveness. Like, you cannot heal if you do not forgive, right? You cannot heal if you do not forgive. Some people think if you hold on to bitterness, hold on to resentment, if you hold on to that hurt, you'll be free. It's the right thing to do. That's a misconception. You only hurt yourself, right? Forgive the people that hurt you. God will pay you back double with joy and double victory. That's the thing, guys. Forgiveness does way more for us than what we could ever think of and or ever imagine. Like, there's so much breakthrough, miracles, and blessings and favor waiting on you if you just do the impossible and forgive the person that's wronged you. And for some people, everybody has been wronged in some kind of way, guys. And not just that, some wrongs are just hard to forgive, and not every single wrong is the same, right? You guys know what I'm trying to say. So, but God still calls us to do the impossible and forgive. Why? Because He has forgiven us, and He called us to show the same grace, show the same favor, show the same His love to other people, distribute that out to anybody, even our enemies, right? So you probably won't get that apology, but forgive them anyways. That's what I was trying to say in the video before, Justin. Like, a lot of people are expecting a sorry from people. They're expecting, I was wrong. You were right. I'm so sorry. No, this is not a fantasy world. People ain't going to forgive you. So you guys get it, man. Refusing to forgive hinders prayers, blessings, and breakthrough. Forgiveness doesn't make them right. It just sets us free, right? And I haven't even got to the good stuff, man. Like, remember that bitterness, anger, and resentment are not part of God's plans for your life. Forgiveness is, guys, right? So you guys get it, man. I got so many quotes and stuff like that. So, like I was saying, me and Justin are going to answer that person's question. How do you truly know you have forgiven somebody? And she was responding and commenting to a tweet I tweeted on April 10, 2023. Forgiveness is a two-way street. You can't expect others to forgive you if you are unwilling to forgive them, right? So I'll let Justin go ahead and start it off.
Yeah, man, it's So I will say, like, for your quote, I like it because it is like a two-way street. How can you expect other people to forgive you if you don't forgive others?
Mm.
Like the verse that you mentioned in our last video, like, he who forgives much will be forgiven much. Who forgives little will be forgiven little. That's how, kind of like how God will treat us as well. But for when you forgive someone, we kind of have to realize that that's just on you. Like, everyone has their own responsibility. Everyone will do what they're going to do. Sometimes if you forgive someone, they won't forgive you. And that's on them. You can't be, your forgiveness is not dependent on how the other person reacts. This is your responsibility. This is what God is calling you to do. Like, God loved us before we loved him. Or God forgave us before. Oh, I just butchered that. Man, that's two videos in a row. I'm just butchering stuff.
Man, I
But
was
like
awful. Yeah.
when we have like unconditional love or unconditional forgiveness, like it's not dependent on the actions of the other person. We can only affect what we've done. Like we are only responsible for ourselves. And how we know, and I'll hold off on saying everything I want to say just so it's not convoluted. But I just want to start off by saying like we have to concentrate, we have to worry just for ourselves. Like we can't worry about other people. Like we aren't responsible for other people. When we forgive someone, we're releasing other people from that responsibility to make us feel angry.
Yeah.
But do we need to receive forgiveness from the other person? Like that would be nice, but in the context of this question, we just have to worry about ourselves. And we'll talk more. I'll mention more about like how that's important and why it's important a little later. But that's the foundation that I want to lay down right now.
Yeah. Like the question was, how do you truly know you have really forgiven somebody?
Mm,
And there's so many answers to that question. It's not just one thing, right? And one of the answers is that's so powerful, right? I'm gonna give it to you straight, just right from the get-go, is this. So when you look at the person's hurt and not just your own, and pray for God to bless him or her, right?
mm,
When you can look at that person's hurt and not just your own and pray for that and pray God to bless him or her, right? Remember that Jesus said, pray for your enemies, pray for those who persecute you and misuse you and abuse you. Like, vengeance is the Lord, right? Don't seek eye for eye, a tooth for a tooth, right? God is your vengeance. The reason why he says stuff like that, and he's saying it because hurt people, right? Justin, you know how if you've been watching my YouTube channel, Upload Past Crossroads, me and Justin and Terry, like we've been talking a lot, and like I've been mentioning just all the hurt I've been going through, like with the process I'm going through and the denomination I'm under to be a preacher, right? And what I realize is the one that hurt me the most, and she don't just hurt me, she hurts everybody she comes into contact with, right? So like that person is so hurt that she's bleeding on everybody else, right? She didn't have a family structure like I have, and she didn't have the love that I had all of my life, right? So she doesn't know how to talk to people. She doesn't know how to have relationships with people. Matter of fact, she doesn't want relationships with people. Like, and so she's so rude, right? Disrespectful. She puts herself up on a pedestal and treat other people worse than what she would want people to treat her like, because that's what she's used to, right? And because that's what she had to deal with, right? So hurt people. Like it's way deeper than that too. Like, so that's what I had to realize, when I'm worried about my hurt, like how she's talking to me, right? How she treated me, all those hurts. And then I had to think about it. Like, she's went through a lot. And that's the funny thing. Even pastors, guys, they struggle.
mm,
Even pastors aren't perfect. So for me to think that she could have ever been like Jesus, well, that's on me, right? So pray for those who misuse you. Bless them instead. Why? Because they're hurting too, right? That's the only reason why they hurt you. That's how you know you truly forgiven somebody. Can you see things from their perspective, right? Don't look at the hurt. You gotta look past the hurt. That's the thing, guys. You gotta rise above the hurt, right? Forgiveness isn't approving what happened, it's choosing to rise above it, right? That's how you know you're forgiving somebody, when you're willing to move past the situation, when you're willing to rise above it. Because as believers, God's standards are high. Forgive
mm,
those who persecute you. Love your enemies. Bless those who persecute you. That's impossible. You can't do that in the flesh. Nobody will choose to do that naturally. Maybe a child. No, not even a child would do that. If somebody hits Jimmy, Jimmy gonna hit him back. At least he should, or cry, right? Or wants to hurt him. Like, they hurt me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's our natural instinct, right? But as believers, we're called God has a higher standard for us. We don't pay eye for eye, tooth for a tooth. No, forgiveness isn't approving what happened. It's choosing to move past it, because God got way more in store for us, right? Forgiveness does more good for us than the person we are forgiving. Yeah, let me say that again. I butchered it like crazy. So forgiveness does more good for us than for the person we are forgiven. Forgiveness is for you, and it's for you. That's it. It heals you. Forgiveness heals, right? And that's the thing. Forgiveness is so strange. This is how God made forgiveness, man. Forgiveness is a strange medicine. If you give it to others, it heals you too. If you don't give it to others and you want to hold on to bitterness, resentment, hatred, anger, all those negative things that God doesn't want for you, man, you hold on to those things, you're blocking your healing, you're blocking your breakthrough, you're blocking your blessing, you're blocking your prayers. Because God's not going to hear your prayers if you refuse to forgive those who trespassed against you, right? Because God has forgiven you, and you're called to give people, love people in the same measure that God has loved you. In the same measure that you love other people and forgive other people shows the measure that God has the measure of forgiveness and love that God has shown to you, right? And so, yeah, man, a consistent quality of a Christ and a consistent quality of Christ followers in a mature Christian, right, is someone offering forgiveness to those who don't deserve it. And that's a lot of people we come in contact with. That person that cut you off on the road. Oh, Justin, man, I got a funny story to tell you, man. My sister's best friend, I cut off on the road, long story short. And I didn't even know it was him. And I mean mugged him, man. I was like, like it just drove by, and you should have seen his face. But like, man, like, but yeah, that's a side note. But anyways, yeah, man. So just I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, I think like man, that's a perfect example too. Is like I feel like God is always talking about like intentions and thoughts. Like Jesus, man, Jesus was spitting facts when he was like talking about uh like it's not just like what we do, but it's like our thoughts as well. Like
Mhm.
he's saying, "Thou shalt not murder," but I say to you, don't be angry at another person. Like if you're angry at someone, it's like you're committing murder of them in your mind. I think that's a big part too. If we realize if we've forgiven someone, is like is our mind still wandering to them, or are our thoughts like occupied or obsessed with that fact? Like the person who cut you off, they probably don't even realize what they did to your life. They like you're the only one who's allowing them to live rent free in your mind, like occupying your thoughts.
Yeah.
Something like something that has really my wife just gave me the thumbs up. Something that I've learned from marriage as well. And I was talking to Sean about this that I really want to share with you guys because I thought it was good. Something I noticed when I'm married is like I thought I was a decent human being, but living with somebody else, like I kind of realized how terrible of a person I kind of am. Like just because you have someone 24/7. And I'm not saying my wife picks apart everything I do. It just makes me see myself in a mirror now. But like something I have a hard time with is I will mentally keep note of things that I feel wronged or disrespected about. Go away. You are not.
This is not a woman video today, y'all.
I made you dinner. Get back in the kitchen and eat your dinner. Anyway, um, and like that. Anyway, what I was saying is like keeping a mental track of like things of how you're wrong or disrespected is not a good way to have a healthy relationship.
Uh-huh.
A part of it is just because I have a good memory and I remember everything, including the good things. But like that's a reason I didn't explain. So that's kind of off what we're talking about. This isn't how do you know if you've forgiven someone. This is like why forgiving someone is good. It honestly, those thoughts hold you back, and that's why Jesus was so concerned about our intentions and our thoughts because he knew what kind of person that would kind of make us. Like if we live in a culture where we're constantly told it's all right to um like be mad at something or to hold on to anger, and it's not like at all. That's like terrible.
Yeah.
It is good to remember those things sometimes or seek justice, but when you're holding on to them, I think a good indicator of if you have truly forgiven someone is if you don't aren't constantly thinking about it, or if you see that person or think about them, it doesn't elicit thoughts of anger right away. Like that was Sean was giving me an example earlier about, and I'm not gonna tell Sean's stories for him. because that's just a terrible thing to do to your friend. But like he gave a good example, like if you see that person or if you see somebody and you're like those thoughts come rushing back in, that might be a good indicator that you're not completely over it or you don't have good closure. So I'll tell one of my stories to give a good example.
Mhm.
Like someone at my work, so you know how in sitcoms sometimes you hear people, you'll see a couple of people talking about somebody and then they leave and then the person they're talking about was there the whole time around the corner and then the audience goes, "Aw." That was me one time. I heard a conversation that they were unaware I was around. And they were talking about like how uh, I'm the type of person who like tries to greet people or see how their weekend is. Like I
Mhm.
like to talk, but like I was in a department where it was like only girls after a while, and my manager kept hiring on people that she knew. So eventually, it was like I'm the only one who's outside the circle. So trying to fit. I feel like I'm defending myself. I think I started this story all wrong. But anyway, I hear like a couple of people are talking about like I'm annoying. Like I try to um, talk too much. This is why I made friends with other departments because they were actually nice to me. But they were saying like, oh, he's probably has like some psychological disorder, stuff like that. Yeah, those were the exact words. Like I'm not even exaggerating. Those were the exact words. You don't forget. You don't forget a time when someone says you have a psychological disorder. But like that stuck with me. And that took a long time for me to like get over. Like because like I had to work with them. Every time like I saw them, I just like avoided them. And I think, yeah, thanks for laughing at my pain, Sean. You okay? Anyway, I'm gonna finish my story while Sean just finishes doing whatever he's doing. But like I think a big part of my growth was and like finally forgiving them is like seeing them in the office and not letting it bother me as much. And um and I think that's how you kind of know when you've forgiven somebody is like when you see them, is your first does your first thought go back to that pain or is that something you've moved past? And
Mhm.
like Sean and I have already talked about how a big part of why you forgive somebody is so you can move on, so you can like keep moving forward, so you're not pulled down or held back by those thoughts. But I think that's long story short, I think that's what helps me indicate if I've forgiven somebody is if I'm not keeping tabs on them. My thoughts are clean. They're not held down by useless revenge thoughts or useless obsessions.
Yeah, yeah, that's so messed up. Like,
Oh, yeah, gosh, I know, right?
because I'm only laughing because it's not true, and like, I could just imagine, like, this is psychological. Like, that's like
Oh, yeah, man.
Jeffrey Dahmer. You know what I mean? Like, someone crazy. Like, she went way too far. You know?
Oh, like a five syllable word just to describe how much they don't like me. And I thought
Right. And not just that. Like, she said, like, did you say mental disorder? Like,
psychological disorder.
oh, well, it made it sound like you were handicapped or something. You know, like
Oh,
slight.
yeah, yeah.
Like, and I was like, what? Like,
This
then.
I feel like I shouldn't say this
Uh,
because now it seems like I didn't quite forgive them. But eventually, I moved on to another department,
yeah.
and then found out that department suffered without me. So that brought me a little bit of joy, which I feel like if I really forgave them, I shouldn't feel happy about it, but I feel a little happy about it.
Man, that was all God, man. That's God's favor right there, bro.
Oh man,
Like,
I brought in the numbers for that department though, so that's
yeah,
why they fell behind.
not too psychotic now, but
Yeah. Maybe, maybe it was still a little bit, but
all right, yeah, guys. So the question of the day on my social media platform. So I didn't say this earlier, but on my YouTube channel, Upload Past Crossroads, right? If you go to it, subscribe to it, turn on the post notifications so you know when I upload another video, like and comment and share all my videos and stuff like that. All right, so on my YouTube channel, I answer people's questions all the time with Justin or by myself sometimes, even sometimes with Terry. So questions from social media. So go to that playlist on my YouTube channel if you're enjoying this video and you want us to even answer your question. You can DM us on our Facebook page, it's Sean Christopher Jenkins, Justin Lee Howell, right? And we'll do a video on your questions. And the question we got on my Twitter page was this. Somebody asked, how do you truly know when you've forgiven somebody, right? How do you truly know when you have let go of that hurt, right? And I want to answer that question in multiple ways just based on what Justin did. I'm gonna ask a question with a question. So, how do you really know you truly forgiven somebody? When you think about that person or those people, do you have are your thoughts filled with God's love and mercy? Or are they filled with pride, judgment, condemnation, vengeance, hurt, bitterness, anger, resentment? That's how you know when you're really forgiving somebody. And I'll even take it a step further. How you really know when you're really forgiving somebody? And me and Justin was talking about it. You have an ex. Have you ever dated somebody and it didn't work out, or they did you wrong, or something like that, right? So for me, with my ex, she didn't even have to be in the room. But like, if I knew there was a possibility that she would be in the same room as me, where in the meeting or the I3 research program where we met at, like if I even had an inkling, like that could be possible, like the hatred, the bitterness, the resentment, the anger, like, oh no, like I want to prove her wrong, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that came in, like clenched fists, right? Like, what kind of thoughts are those, right? What can you do with those kind of thoughts? Nothing. Like, oh man, I'm gonna spoil it, man. Like, forgive for a lot of, how do you know when you really forgiving somebody? It's when you I don't know if I want to go there yet. Yeah, forgiveness is not about letting anyone off the hook, right? It's about not getting them. It's about getting them off your mind, right? So forgiveness is not about letting anyone off the hook. It's about getting them off your mind,
What?
right? So like my ex, like she was always on my mind, right? When we first broke up, always thinking about her, always. And then I was real suicidal at that point, like, but not. I was actually pretty good at that point. It was the other times we broke up I wasn't too good, but like, yeah. But that time, like, I was learning, like, in order for me to heal, I had to. Anytime I thought about her, I had to learn how to think good thoughts, right? But it's not like justifying the wrong that she did, or saying it was okay, or letting her off the hook, like to say, but like it was just, I needed healing. I needed freedom for that situation. So for me to forget and to forgive her, it looks different than what yours look like. So for me, in order for me to forgive that person, I had to forget about them, right? Because if I forgot about her and went back to default with her, like before I first met her, then I can heal. Because anytime I see her again, it's like I'm meeting a new person. Like, because who stays the same after 10, 20, 30, 50 years? Like nobody, hopefully, right? So she's a totally different human being probably right now. But like, I don't care. I forgot about her, right? It's moving on from the situation. Like, I was always thinking about her, wondering like what's going on with her. Like, does she have somebody now? Like, how is that relationship with that white guy that she wanted to be with? Like, while she dated me, like, she wanted to date the same. She wanted to do what's it called? Polymaganism. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
Oh,
date.
yeah, like multiple marriage,
Yeah, she wanted like a
poly
multiple relationships in one. Right.
monogamy is one.
Yeah.
Polygamy, yeah,
You know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
Everybody know what I'm talking about, right? She wanted an open relationship, right? And I wasn't going for that.
Mm,
So yeah,
yeah.
man, like, in order for me to move past the hurt, which we all have to move past it in different ways. So how do you know when you're truly forgiven? One of the things that stamp it is, have you forgotten the hurt? Have you forgotten the pain? Like,
Mm.
and when you think about it, do you think, what are your thoughts? Do you think of do you have prideful thoughts, judgmental thoughts when it comes to them, condemnation, vengeance, or is it filled with God's love, God's mercy? Like, you don't even care, right? Unconditional love, right? That's how I knew I was over it, right? And then I even took it further with Justin before the video started. Like, if I saw her again, like, and if she was in the same room as me, like, would my fist clench up? Like, would I be mad and like, or would I, just be just whatever, right? And which one do you want to be? I want to be whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, Like, just don't talk to me. You talk to
Mm.
me, I'll probably give you the silent treatment. And some people they think that's not forgiveness, but for me that is. Like if for like, and that for my ex, if you chose somebody over me, you're not gonna get the same assets that you had to me before, right? You're not gonna get the same privileges, same rights. Like, you're not my wife, you're not my girlfriend. You don't get those rights and privileges no more. It's revoked. It's vetoed now, right? So, like, in order for me to overcome and forgive, that's one of the things I had to do. So, yeah, Justin, you had something you want to say? I think when I said something,
Yeah,
I
I
should have
think.
asked you earlier.
Yeah, shoot. I'm trying to think about it now. Uh,
It was probably when I said this quote. I said, "Forgiveness is not about letting anyone off the hook. It's about letting
oh,
them off your mind."
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And this was. Thanks for reminding me. I feel like.
Yeah.
I always forget when a thought comes in my head. Yeah, I think that's really important because it's. I think it is. You were talking about like your ex before we were doing this video as well, and we were kind of saying like it's all right to like forgiving someone doesn't necessarily mean that you have to like let them back into your life either. Like sometimes, man, I feel like we worded it so much better before. And man, I wish we were recording then. It would have been a whole lot better.
Uh-huh.
But like, but yeah, like sometimes you do have to cut some people out of your life as well. Like forgiving someone is very different than like letting them back into your life as well. Like it's I feel like as long as you feel it'd be great if you can forgive a friend and let them back into your life. But I think you do have to be aware of your boundaries as well. Like you can forgive somebody, but you have to realize that they could have been like a toxic part of your life or a toxic relationship that you just need to cut out. Like I'm not hanging out with my ex coworkers anymore, even though I forgave them. You're not hanging out with your ex anymore. That'd be I don't think Maya would like that very much.
Oh no.
But yeah, but it was kind of like what I'm not sure if this is the best example, but it made me think of when I was talking to some of my friends who used to do like Alcoholics Anonymous. It's not to say like
Okay.
alcohol is bad or everyone needs to quit alcohol, but for them they draw a very defined line, uh, a defined line that's like good for them, a good boundary, so they can continue to move on and not to be pulled back by those type of things. So
Yeah.
I really like how it's like you're not let you're letting your feelings go, but you're not letting them off the hook. I think that's a good balance of like sometimes people do need to face justice for things, but it's not because of revenge. It's not because we want to see them suffer.
Right.
Because like God does call us to be fair and balanced on things.
Hmm. And yeah, we were talking about like the misconceptions and lies behind forgiveness that we have in the world. Like, the world don't know what forgiveness is. The world doesn't forgive anybody.
Mm.
Like, black people have yet to forgive the slavery, like in Jim Crow and everything that
Oh,
happened
yeah.
until we get reparations. Like, whoa, we get that reparation, man. Right now, they say it's supposed to be $350,000. Oh Lord, longer it takes, the more it's going to be. But anyways, you guys get what I'm saying. Like, the world don't teach what forgiveness is. They don't want to forgive anything, right? But God called us to move past the hurt, right? And so
Mm.
one of the points I had too to go with that other point I gave to you guys, forgiveness is not about letting anyone off the hook. It's about getting them off your mind. Like, so that's how you know you're forgiving somebody if they don't linger in your head anymore. Because that's what resentment, hatred, and bitterness is. Like, we just keep on rehashing and reliving a situation. And Justin said it earlier, like, you have to move past that, right? God, you're in a new chapter of life. And so many people aren't opening that new chapter of life in the book that they're in because they're still on the first two chapters of their lives and all the stuff that happened to them. When you got a whole entire book that you
Mm.
still need to read on your life, right? And so another point I want to make too, sometimes you have to forgive people not because they asked you to, not because you want to, right? But because you can't let it contaminate your heart. That's
Mm.
what bitterness, hatred, resentment, all those things does. Like, it contaminates our spirits and our hearts. And
Uh,
what does God want for us? He wants us to receive his word on what kind of ground? on good soil, right? It has to be a good soil. Good soil does not look like bitterness, resentment, hatred, malice, deceitfulness, like envy. Like that's not good soil, right? God wants us to have peace, like tranquility. Like He wants us to have happiness and joy, right? Breakthroughs and miracles, like all those things are magnets and coming to us if we get rid of the junk and forget about it. Take out the trash, right? So forgiveness isn't pretending it's all right. It's letting go and not letting it get to you,
Mm.
right? That's how you know you've forgiven somebody, when you can just let it go. It's move on, right? And stop letting it get to you. That's the second thing. That's how you know you truly forgiven somebody. Does it get to you anymore? If you see them in person, is it getting to you, right? Or can you look at them and see them like God sees them and see that they're hurting too, right? They're sinners like you, right? They need forgiveness like you need forgiveness from God. So
Mm.
are you willing to give them the same grace and the same favor, right? Not favor, that's a bad word, but like, are you willing to show them the same grace that God has shown you, right? And so, yeah, how you know when you're truly forgiving somebody? When you speak about that person or those people, are the words that you say about them pleasing to God? Or do they show we haven't truly forgiven them? Because the way that you speak means everything, guys. What
Mm.
you say means everything. As a believer, we've been saying it in the past few videos on forgiveness. You know, as children of God, we can't just walk around with hatred, bitterness, and eye for eye, tooth for tooth type of vengeance mentality like the world does. How would they ever see God's love? And how would they ever see God's light? Right? How would they ever see God in action through us? Because that's what we're called to give to the world, like Jesus, God in flesh,
Mm.
manifested in flesh, His word manifested in flesh. That's what we're called to be, right? There's no other standard. That's the standard, right? And that's a hard standard to meet, right? So when we speak about that person that hurt you, or those people, or anybody, right? Are our words merciful, or do they show and do they show God's love, or are they spiteful, negative, demeaning, arrogant, angry, etc.? Right? That's how
Mm.
you truly know when you've forgiven somebody. Like, I don't care to talk about my ex no more. Like, I don't do it like I did when we first broke up. Like, so like, and even if I do, there's nothing positive to say. But but like, yeah, I'm not gonna let her be my ministry. That's what I had to learn too. Like, I can't allow her, that hurt, that experience, to keep on. I thought about it too, Justin. Like with my YouTube channel, like if I didn't move past the hurt, like I just talk about her on every single video. Like it's a video all tailored to her, the hurt that I went through with her and everything like that. Yeah, that's cool to help people that went through breakups and stuff like that, and divorces. But like, I gotta move past that. There's so much other stuff in the Bible that God wants me to learn. There's so much other things in my life that God is doing, right? And so many other things I need to grow in. I need to grow in different areas as well, not just in that area. So like, I have to move past it, right?
Mm.
So that's how I know I've truly forgiven somebody. If I don't talk about them like I did, like, you know what I mean, and I
Yeah.
always think about them, like, so you guys get it, man. So just I'll let you talk, man. I'm talking.
I think that like a big part too is like yeah, like I love how you said it's like how you talk about it as well. Because for me, there are there's like two types of complaining. Um and I think one of them is to complain.
Mm,
It's where like you meet at the water cooler, you're just going, "Oh, I can't believe what my boss just did. Can you believe what they did?" And you're expecting like people to like complain with you. And then there's like venting, which I think is a lot healthier option. Like we all need to vent. Like it's very unhealthy emotionally and spiritually to bottle up things that bother us or bottle up our feelings, and not to express them in a healthy manner. I think like venting is a very applicable way to like complain about something. But like if there was a like I feel like Sean and I have both given examples of like past stories that we've had, and we were talking about them not to get sympathy from people or not to like get people to complain with us, but it's like to use that as a story or as an example. I feel like both of us kind of have had a piece when we were talking about that. So I feel like that's a good way to indicate if we've forgiven someone, is like, how do we, when we talk about the situation, like, how are we talking about it? Like, are we talking about it angrily, hoping that we can get other people angry? Which is like, what one, why would you want to do that? Why would you just want to rile up people? But I think there's a certain peace that comes from it as well. Um, um, yeah, I guess that's all I want. I guess that's all I need to say about that. Is like, when you talk about it, like, does it sound like you have closure? Does it sound like you have peace? Like,
Yeah,
if it doesn't sound like it, maybe you're just not there yet.
yeah. And I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know if I got closer with the ME church and all the preachers that offended me. That like, I definitely don't. Like,
I think that's still fresh too.
yeah,
Like, forgiveness is definitely a
it's a process.
process. Yeah, exactly. It is a process. I think I think you are I think you have signs that you are part on that process. Like, you're not, when you talk about it with me, it doesn't sound like you're trying to get me riled up, or you're not trying to fish for sympathy from me.
Hmm.
But like, it does sound like it does sound fresh. It does sound like you're still a little hurt from it. So I think you're in the middle somewhere for sure.
Yeah, yeah. As long as I'm not like that butterfly photo I've been showing on
Oh,
the videos, way down by that rock.
oh yeah.
A
That's a good,
butterfly, yeah,
excellent. I like that one.
right, yeah. Butterfly way down by a rock, guys. Like that's an impossible situation. Come on, it will die. Like, stop. Why we put ourselves in it? That's another thing too, guys. Like you can be hurt, but don't let that hurt. Don't let the stuff the hurt that people put you through uh limit you, because that's what you're doing. You're limiting yourself. Like, don't let that prohibit you from moving on. Like, that's not what I'm trying to say, because we've been saying that the whole video. But basically, like, don't make the situation worse than what it already is. Right? We have to. You can make it worse than what it already is if you let that hurt just be your whole ministry, be your whole life, like be your whole story, be your whole identity. That's what I was trying to say. Like, you can't allow hurts, failures, the offenses that other people did to you and stuff like that to be your end all be all in life. Like, it's God got so much more going on in your life, right? And so one thing I was gonna say too, like Justin, I said it in the other videos, but I want to hit on with everything, man. So forgiveness is not a one-time event, right? So how you know when you forgiving somebody? You know you've forgiven somebody when every time you remember the situation, you choose to forgive again, right? Because depending on what the situation is, like sometimes we don't want to forgive. Sometimes it's hard. It's harder to forgive in certain situations, right? I'm not going to talk about it because some people are really hurting, but you get what I'm saying. But
Mhm.
every time you think about it, right, you choose to forgive. Why? Because forgiveness is not an emotion. You don't have to feel like doing it, right? You think Jesus felt like forgiving people? And Jesus was the one who he was unjustly treated and face lies and all that stuff more than any of us will ever have to deal with. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, people told rumors about him. They said stuff that was false about him. God in the flesh, right? How can you mistake him for anything else, right? And say anything else about him and then lead him to his death, right? So, like, Jesus knows what it means to be hurt, to be
Mhm.
mistreated, to have to forgive people, right? More than any of us, because he had to forgive all of us, right? That's another thing too. All of us have done God wrong. Like, how do you think God feels, right? You know, he should be holding a lot of bitterness and resentment and hatred, but he doesn't. So that's what we're called to do, man. Forgiveness is not an emotion. It's an action. It's a decision. You got to choose to do it. Forgiveness is not ever easy. Sometimes it probably is, but more than likely, most of the time, it's not. It's a journey that requires effort, time, perseverance, and prayer. Why? Because it's impossible. It's not easy, but it's always the right thing to do. Why? Because forgiveness leads to freedom. Forgiveness leads to breakthrough. Forgiveness leads to healing, right? Forgiveness is not an occasional act, right? It's a constant attitude, like I was trying to say in the video before, right? Forgiveness is repeating the process as long as necessary. It's an everyday walk when it comes to believers. Forgive those who persecute you. Why? because you won't be persecuted every single day. Because in John 16:33, it says, Jesus said and promised to us, in this world you will face many tribulations, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. You know how much mistreatment and how much injustice Jesus had to go through? You know, his tribulations he faced with people. People suck. Like, and that's another thing too. You're not gonna know people suck until you're around people a lot. It's imagine the life of a pastor. That's what I figured out, Justin. Like the life of a pastor. Like you're around people 24/7, 7 days a week, right? Some people just gonna do you wrong, and they're just gonna, man, they're just gonna do stuff to hurt you, to be spiteful and stuff like that, right? But as a preacher, like you just have to expect that and learn how to move past it. You can't be in a pulpit and just be preaching about somebody that hurt you in the pew, and they're right there. That's not a fair advantage. You gotta hash it out a different way, right? Like you can't hurt them that way and use that microphone for that. So forgiveness is really a one-time event. That's what I was trying to say too. But Justin, if you had anything else, man, I'll let you talk about that.
Oh shoot, I was thinking of something right in the middle. I'm trying.
I
Oh yeah,
think, yeah, okay.
so you're talking about like how Jesus had, yeah, there were like prophecies and verses in Isaiah all the way back to Isaiah. I was saying the Messiah, Jesus, would like be disowned or not even welcome back in his own town. Like, of course, there are people who like Jesus wouldn't want to forgive or even have compassion for, but he did. And I think that's what allows us to have forgiveness as well. Is like because God forgave us, we can also forgive other people. I think that's a good indicator. If we feel like we've fully forgiven someone, is if we feel like we've handled the situation the same way that Jesus or God would want us to handle the situation. Like if you do something and you have to ask yourself, now is this something Jesus would probably do? And if it's no, then yeah, that's probably a problem.
Mhm.
But if it's like if there's a certain peace or satisfaction, that's probably like the spirit telling you that you did a good job on something, hopefully. Um, but I think just trying to make ourselves more Christ-like will definitely help us during our process. But just going back to, I'm trying to keep this related to how do we know we've forgiven someone. But I think a big part is, do we feel like we've done right with God or done right with Jesus when we forgive other people? So I like that Sean brought up that we have to remember, like Jesus, Jesus forgave people leagues, leagues ahead of like what we can possibly imagine. Like everyone, that's the sad part is like God loves everybody, but we know everybody has betrayed God at some point. Everyone has like done something that's uh like unforgivable in God's eyes, but he's forgiven us anyway.
Mhm. Yeah, last thing I was gonna say, guys, is how do you know when you truly forgiven somebody? That question we got on social media this time around. What are your feelings? You know, how do you feel? Right? Is there peace and tranquility and just joy and happiness when it comes to your feelings about being over the situation? Right? Because you're not gonna have peace about every single thing that you ever went through in life. Right? Some things just gonna make you mad. Right? Because anger is an emotion, and all emotions are important. Just like we learned from the movie Inside Out. It's one of my favorite movies, one
Oh
of
yeah.
my Pixar movies. Yeah. All right. So our feelings reveal a lot about, you know, our about ourselves and our heart and stuff like that. A lot of the time. So like, are you still holding on to what happened, or have we forgiven and moved on from the situation? Right. So that's another way how you know if you've forgiven that person or not. Like, are you holding on to it? Do you Are you still holding on to those feelings, those negative feelings and those negative thoughts, or have you moved on from it? Like, and sometimes you're still gonna have those feelings. That's the funny thing. Like, I still feel the same way about my ex. That will never change, right? Ever. She could turn into Jesus, and I still no. I don't care. Like, but like I move on. I move past the situation. Like she's over. She's irrelevant. She's not in my life anymore. I'm good, right? She's still alive. Do I wish her to be dead? That don't matter. She's still alive. God got a purpose for her. God wants to bless her too. God loves her too. You just live your life and do you. I'm gonna do me because God loves me too, right? And that's another thing too. God loves them, so you should love them too, right? That's how you know if you really forgiving somebody, if you could see that, right? And that's powerful, man. Like you don't, just because you don't like somebody and you don't approve of them doesn't mean God feels the same way, right? It doesn't mean God's gonna bring hell in their life and stuff like that. So yeah, man. Well, another one of my questions I had to answer that question, have you truly forgiven somebody, is when it comes to our actions, do they show we have forgiven them or not? So our actions speak volumes, right? Actions speak louder than words. You can say you've forgiven somebody, but how do you act? When you talk about that person, when you're around that person, when the same situation comes about, because here goes a powerful quote, guys. Justin, we gotta do a video on this. Uh yeah. I saw this quote a long time on my social media platforms. I only posted it once, but I gotta really find it where it's at. But I need to post it in my way. So this is one of my favorite quotes of all time I saw on social media, and I still remember it. So it says relationships fail because people take their own insecurities and try and twist them into their partner's flaws. So relationships fail because most people try to take their own insecurities and try to twist them into their partner's flaws. So you want to know how you really forgiving
Mm.
somebody? Are you bleeding? Are you still bleeding the hurt that happened to you? And are you bleeding on other people? Because hurt people hurt other people. So are you hurting people in the same way that that person has hurt you? So that's how I know. See, I'm preaching to myself. That's how I know I'm not over what happened to me with the ME church and that one preacher specifically, because I'm bleeding on people, other pastors in the ME church, just like she bled on me, just in a different way. It still comes back to the root pride, right? Arrogance, haughtiness, thinking you're right about the situation. And that's the thing about forgiveness, guys. Like I was going to share that with you guys. I want to see if I can find it, but yeah, here it is. It's hard to forgive someone if somehow you think you're better than that person. So everybody that has been wrong, we think that we're in the right. Like
Mm.
we're right about that
Yep.
situation. So what we think is what God thinks, like, and that person's gonna pay. Like, you guys know what I'm trying to say. So it's hard to forgive somebody if you think you're right and that person's just wrong. Like, and that's not true either. Like, you're wrong too. You're wrong about a lot of stuff. You offended people before, you hurt people before. So stop being all prideful and arrogant, acting like you ain't never done something to anybody. Like you ain't never killed an ant before. Like I'm just kidding, that was a joke. But you guys get what I'm saying, man. So don't allow what has been done to you to become bigger than what Jesus did for you. God
Mm.
has forgiven you of much. So we need to forgive other people of much and stop being so prideful, arrogant, and haughty to think some people are not good enough for our forgiveness. That's a lie from the devil. Forgiveness is a command from God. We got to obey it whether we want to or not. So, yeah, that's all I got, Justin. You have anything else, man?
Yeah, I think that's I'm trying not to repeat too much stuff I said on our previous
Hey,
forgiveness.
go ahead, man. Just
Yeah,
repeat. It's a new video, man.
yeah, yeah. But no, yeah, that's I I think we do have to like humble. That's a good example. Like we can't think that we're better than somebody else. When we do that, we expect an apology from someone. And this loops right back to what I was saying before is that yeah, forgiveness is a two-way street. How can we expect to be forgiven if we don't forgive others? But like if we think we're better than somebody else, that means we're only forgiving somebody or apologizing to somebody because we're expecting that in return. Like that's the fact that Jesus made himself human and came down for us is a perfect example of like we're all in the same boat. Like none of us are on a pedestal. Like we're all on even grounds. So when we fit forgiveness into this hierarchy, we have to be aware that it doesn't make us better than other people. We shouldn't be forgiving people with the expectation that we're going to be forgiven either. We only forgive people because we want to release other people from that responsibility of our anger, and so we can move on. like that. I think that's a good indicator as well. If we feel like we've forgiven someone, is not expecting anything in return. Like God has already done so much for us without us doing anything first. Like I forgot which book this was in, but the verse that goes, uh, while we were still sinners, like God forgave us. Like that's what we need to do as well. We need to forgive people before they do anything for us. Like that does help. That feels great. Don't get me wrong. I think everyone should try to forgive everyone. But that's not going to happen. Sometimes people are going to screw you over, and there will continue to be people who screw you over. But again, like we're only responsible for ourselves, and the a good a good way to know that we are truly forgiving someone for the right reasons is not expecting anything in return. Like a sense of satisfaction, peace of mind, yeah, those are great things, but we shouldn't be expecting that from other people.
Right. Right. Yeah, guys. So that's the video today, guys. Just in that video, flawless, man.
Yeah, I like this video too. I like us pulling stuff from our real lives. It
Yeah.
personalizes them.
Right. Yeah, man. So, guys, if you want Justin to wear more coats like that, just let him know, man. He look like a pilot, like on Top Gun or Maverick.
I think this
That
is like a
Maverick.
steampunk vest.
Oh, I thought it was like a full plate. You ruined it.
Oh,
That still look good,
I
man.
like the vest though. I like vests better.
Yeah. Now you look like Arrow, like Green Arrow, and
Oh
like
yeah.
I forgot the other guy's name, the Red Arrow guy,
Oh
Roy Harper. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, he was red air like Speedy.
Yeah, Speedy.
That's
Yeah,
right.
he's called something else too, Arsenal or something like the clone of
Oh
him.
yeah, Arsenal.
Yeah, I think it's called Arsenal
Yeah.
too. But like
I think
it's multiple of him.
I think in the comics too, when he was trying not to be a sidekick, he called himself Red Arrow, and then he called himself like Arsenal,
Yeah,
something like that.
right. But yeah, guys, like to thank Red Arrow here. But thanks for tuning in again, guys. Here goes my social media platforms. If you want to see more videos like this, go to my YouTube channel, Uplift past Crossroads. I also have a podcast on my every podcast platform you could think of: Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, you name it. Just go wherever you listen to your podcast. Spotify, especially. Please go to Spotify. All right, I need 2 more followers to get paid on podcasts again. Right, so go to subscribe on my podcast on Spotify. Right, Upload Past Crossroads is the name. All right, my Facebook and LinkedIn page, Sean Christopher Jenkins. My Twitter, Snap, Instagram, TikTok at troubledontlast. My other Instagram page, my underscore the underscore Bible, and my Tumblr page, troubledontlast #1. And like I said before at the very beginning of the video, this is a series I do on my YouTube channel answering people's questions. So if you enjoyed this, you want to see me and Justin tackle other people's questions that we get from social media, check out this playlist on my YouTube channel, questions from social media. And wow, that is a lot of videos, 30 videos. So watch all of them, right? Like, share this playlist, right? It will be in the description, by the way, of this video. And watch this video, all the other videos we done on forgiveness as well. So this is a series I'm starting new on my YouTube channel called Forgive Them. If you type in bitterness, resentment, or grudges, showing grace, just anything like that, you can get to it on my YouTube channel, Upload Past Crossroads. Then here goes Justin's YouTube page, Chaplain's Log. So make sure to turn on the post notification after you subscribe. So click the bell so you're notified when he uploads another video. Then do the same on my YouTube channel. Like and comment and share all his videos, because if you don't do that, our social media pages won't grow. And then also, if you have any questions, you can DM Justin and me on our Facebook pages.
Mm-hmm.
Here goes his Facebook page, Justin Lee Howell. And just send us the question that you want us to ask, and we'll answer it, man. So that's the video for today, guys, about another video on forgiveness, man. How do we truly know when we've forgiven somebody? So I pray that this answered that person's question. I pray that everybody was blessed by this video, and make sure to watch all of our videos all the way through, comment, and share them. Because, guys, I'm this close to getting paid on social media, and then I know one day I'll get paid so much that I'll get to pour out even more content with Justin and just share way more videos than what we do right now. So, all right, guys, we'll talk to you later. Have a great rest of your week. And Christ's victory is your victory. So make sure you receive the victory today, a single day that Jesus paid for on the cross for you. Right? So, amen. Talk to you guys later. Peace.